Hey there. Okay, so I feel like I didn't give Peter a proper introduction in the interview, so I just want to explain to you who he is. So he gathered together a bunch of scientists and farmers and ranchers to do Roots So Deep You Can See the Devil Down There, uh, a documentary and a long-term study of regenerative farming, comparing conventional farms to regenerative farms that were side by side, and doing the scientific studies alongside it while interviewing these people and seeing how they were getting on. It's a lot of fun, the documentaries. Um, very, yeah, not exactly what you'd think. It's not too serious. It's a bit of fun. Um, yeah, you'll see if you look into it. It's available online. There's a 90-day period where you can rent it out. So it costs, I think, €10 in Europe. So it's not much. It's a four-part series. So yeah, it's a bit of fun. You don't have to watch it all in one weekend. Um, and when, you know, I'm trying to write a book about global environmental issues, and the in my last interview with Jane Buxton, who wrote the great Plant-Based Con, we spoke about there's a lot of negativity. Is there anything positive happening in the world right now? And I would point to regenerative farming and especially what these guys are doing. If you're interested in how your food is produced and making everything healthier, protecting farmers um, using ruminants as part of the climate solution and not a climate problem, as it's often been framed, then these documentaries are for you. You'll learn a lot from them. And if you're a farmer who's just interested to see what's going on in that world, this is a lovely way to dip your toe into it because it's a bit of fun. It's normal people that there's no top down explaining stuff. It's all people that are on the land all the time and talking with one another, and Peter in the mix with them, and it's a bit of fun. So, highly recommend it. The other thing is Carbon Cowboys is really nice, especially if you're a farmer, to have a look at on Instagram and TikTok, and I'm sure it's on YouTube. And Peter Byck has also released a new podcast as well. So, highly recommend all those things. Um, yeah, this is the positive stuff that's happening in the world that we should be also paying attention to and not all the doom and gloom. So, without further ado, I hope you enjoyed this interview. Take care. Bye. Welcome to Sustainability for Sinners, a non judgmental, informative, and hopefully helpful place you can learn about sustainability. I focus on health, water, food, energy, antibiotics, detoxifying your life, and much, much more. If you like what you hear, then go ahead and hit the follow button. Enjoy! Yeah, okay, we're rolling. Welcome, Peter. It's an absolute honor.
Thank you,
Absolute
Chris.
honor. Um, so Peter Byck, Professor Peter Byck, uh,
Professor of practice. That's the sort of the
the
nuanced name so that they can hire professionals from an industry to teach who haven't gone up the academic route.
okay,
I've got
okay,
a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Film and Video from California Institute of the Arts, and then that's it. Then I've got, decades of experience. And so when they
yeah,
brought me to ASU in 2013, they're just like, just do what you do, just do it out here. And would you like to teach as well? And I'm like, yeah, that'd be great.
dream
So
job.
I teach students from the schools of sustainability and journalism, how to make short documentaries. And so
Brilliant.
it's basically I just teach them everything I know that is useful for the film they're making. Hopefully useful. It doesn't
Cool.
always work. The chemistry is pretty good most of the time with the students, and sometimes they just don't like the way I do things.
That's the problem with artists, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, you ever
artists.
heard of Anthony Bourdain, right?
Sure, of
I'm
course.
sure
Yeah.
He'd talk in Kitchen Confidential, the book that made him famous, about
Mhm.
the artistic creatives. And he's like, you do not want these guys in your kitchen because they're willing to sacrifice everything for this perfect plate. And he's like, it's also a craft. You gotta you gotta move, you gotta do it.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. I don't think
you
it's
butt
that. I
heads.
think I'm just fixing my frame here.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think it's they're trying to be perfect. I think I'm probably pushing them more that way than some of the students want to
Ah,
go. Not perfect, but
yeah. To
rigorous.
tidy it up a little bit and yeah,
Your
yeah, yeah.
best. Do your
Well,
best.
yeah, exactly. But I'm sure you've refined it as well over the years, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
sharpened that blade.
I have a couple students this past semester in the spring who have offered some suggestions for refinement, but I ask. I absolutely ask.
That's
And
a good approach
yeah,
to be receptive to that feedback then as well. And you keep getting better, feel
sometimes I am.
better.
Sometimes I'm like, well, actually I do that on purpose. And
Okay.
like they wanted anyway. They wanted to have the. I mean, they've got a very good point, but there's only so much I can do, and so teaching them how to use the editing system isn't necessarily the point of the class, but they need to learn it. So
Hmm.
I email them months ahead of time saying, go to YouTube, you've got free Premiere, start using it, start using
Mm.
it, start using it. It's the folks who are afraid to start that
Ah,
bummed out that I don't teach it better. And so
yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
have a point, and I also am like, come
Yeah.
on, come on. So
Yeah, you got to jump in and thrash around in it a bit.
you
Yeah,
do, absolutely.
I've s- I've started creating content with CapCut software. And
Mhm.
my God, I'm not a tech savvy person whatsoever. So it's been an extra long journey, but I'm happy I just kept knocking into it with my head, and then eventually you start figuring out the lay of the land and doing stuff without having to like read through notes. But yeah, yeah, it takes time.
It does take
I-
time.
If I ever do a documentary, I might ask you for a few tips.
I got them. I got them. There's
Yeah.
some basic.
Or I might just enroll in your class.
That would be perfect. Come on
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, I'd
You have to
love
be in
to.
person. You have to be in
Yeah.
person.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool. That's very good. Yeah, I like that. It's more personal,
We did
obviously.
we did remote for COVID, and it wasn't ideal in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
We worked with it. So I said to all the students, okay, normally you have to film around Arizona, around Phoenix,
Yeah.
because that's you're going to go to locations. It's a big state. Now, because it's all remote, you can't interview someone in this area. You have to go out. You go
Ah,
international,
okay.
take advantage of it. And
That's
so that
cool.
was
Yeah.
that was a piece of sort of, well, we
Yeah.
can make that work. So they did. They did stories around the country and around the world. So that worked.
That's
That
awesome.
worked.
Well, it gives you a global kind of thinking as well.
Yeah.
We're evolving into that right now anyways, where you have to kind of
Some of
step
us.
up. Yeah, well, yeah. It's chewed my brain apart because I'm looking at with the book I'm writing, um the chemical situation, the water situation, the agriculture situation, and identifying the similar blueprint all over the world, and
Yeah.
then where along the line people or where the countries are and their policies, etc.
Mhm.
And your head just explodes. But then you see the similarities that are everywhere, each and everywhere with energy, everything. It's very similar, just at different points of progress in good ways or bad ways.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
It's systems thinking versus who's making a whole lot of money with the way things are right now. And,
yes, yeah,
and that's sort of, I think, the tension for
hmm,
change. Um,
yeah, yeah,
you know, there's so many ways to create energy right now with battery storage and solar panels. It's just cheaper. I don't care
yeah,
what you think about the planet. It's
yeah,
just cheap.
yeah,
And folks who are pushing policy away from that, they're not system thinkers and they're not thinking about what's best for the most. They're thinking about what's best for the few. And
hmm,
and that's critical. And so yeah, it's I've been seeing this. for a long, long time. I mean, in the United States, we have within count, like our states have 75 to 200 counties, depending on how big the state is. Sometimes you can
Mm.
have a utility, an electricity utility in each county.
Hmm. Yeah.
And sometimes it's two. And they all push for these policies. And there's not anything
Yeah.
close to national policy.
Yeah.
The big single one, I mean, there's a national entity, but it doesn't have real strong regulatory power, even though regulatory is in its name.
Hmm.
Um, but then Texas has ERCOT, which is Texas is big,
It's isolated, right? It's its own
isolated,
thing. Yeah. Yeah.
and yet that isolation has created some big problems for them over the years, and they've had to tie
Mm.
in. So anyway, it's as soon as I started studying this stuff in '07, it was just so clear that we needed a national electricity energy policy, energy
Mm.
system, but we
Hmm.
don't have it, and I don't guess we will unless we get a leadership that really, really forces it, which
And
would be a big deal. It
yeah.
would put a lot of people out of business, the regulators, but boy, oh boy,
Hmm.
it would be nice. I
We're
think. I think.
we're in the same position here. We have European countries that could benefit massively from one another.
Yep.
Just say there's
Well, don't they? The European Union,
yeah, it's
don't tie
they're
in.
building a lot more interconnectors around the place, and they're quite sophisticated markets up in the Scandinavian countries, very sophisticated. They
Mhm.
trade with Denmark and Germany, Finland,
Yep.
Sweden, Norway, and like when there's a peak production in one place and there's a
Yeah.
lower correlation with the other country, if we want to
Yeah.
get technical about it, yeah, you shoot that excess of energy
Yeah.
off, and it's cheaper over in the other country, and then vice versa, and it's amazing. Um, the stronger the block is together, the better that works. The
Mhm.
weaker it is, the more we unravel that.
Yeah.
So it is about kind of bigger cooperation. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. We all get stronger. We have
Yeah.
more energy security. We rely less on the outside markets for that
Yeah.
can be volatile and turn off those taps on us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a big fan of energy security in that way, in
Get
a
as
good way,
local as
healthy
you
way.
can, as local as you can, as distributed as you can. I remember when I was really focused on energy, there was going to be some solar projects in Morocco that were
Mm,
going to be piped up to Europe. And I don't know if that ever happened, but now battery storage is so much more powerful that seems to be that would be really cool. Imagine the
mm.
EU physically. I was just working on this with my son last night. From London to Moscow is only two-thirds of the way across the United States.
Okay, well, yeah, yeah,
2,000 miles ish. It's a little under.
yeah,
We're about 3,000 miles New York to LA.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it further if you go up to our corners, but it's about 3,000 miles across and probably 2,000 miles north south or a little bit less. And imagine if the EU had 50 countries or 48 countries.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so, I
Well,
mean, Africa has 52 countries. So we're in a rabbit hole of stuff here, but it's cooperation and diversity. Those are like, that's what
mm,
nature does, right?
mm-hmm,
And why wouldn't we study nature every step of the way, just as a model? Doesn't mean we
100%.
have to do exactly that, but as a
Yeah,
starting point, as a model. Like there's
yeah.
this book, In Search of the Mother Tree. Have you come across that book?
No, but I'm gonna
I forget the
read it.
name of the
Hands
author.
gone.
She was a logger. She worked for a logging entity in Vancouver, and she was by far the only woman in her world. And she noticed that when they cut down trees, they cut down like one tree, a whole bunch of other trees died
Hmm.
that weren't even the same
Yeah.
species. And then
Yeah.
she kept going down that road and she realized that there's a mother tree that nurses and takes care
Ah,
and interacts with all these trees around it,
yeah.
different species. And everyone thought she was nuts because she was the first person to figure this out.
Ahead of her time.
So
Yeah.
that's diversity, cooperation,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And I've got a friend, Russ Conser, he's in Texas and he's put solar panels on his house 3 years ago, and now he's got batteries. And he's in Texas where air conditioning's running at least 9, 10 months out of the year, I think, but it's a
Yeah. Yeah.
lot. And his electricity bills are like $1.50, right? Like a
Wow.
pound.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Obviously, he paid money for the batteries, he paid money for the solar panels, but
Yeah.
that monthly
Once it's
bill
set up. Yeah.
and
Mm.
and so he's distributed. If everyone in his neighborhood was distributed, if
Yeah.
we had solar panels on every house,
Now you're hitting it. Yeah.
batteries, then it's a
Yeah.
two-way system. It's just
Yeah.
like that mother tree, right? Although everybody's kind of a mother tree. All the grid gets balanced a
Yeah.
lot
Yeah.
easier. It's just the
Yeah.
folks who are balancing grids haven't done that before, so it's very uncomfortable.
Yes. Yeah.
We need power, and their job is to consistently give us power at a decent price. That's their job.
Hmm.
And so I understand that changing that would be incredibly stressful, but the proof is in the pudding. It's working.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah. Yeah.
with nature, it's the same thing. The more species you have in a pasture, the more diverse
There's,
microbe community you have, and the more numerous microbial community you have if you've got animal impact.
hmm
And it's the same thing.
the whole
And
thing
so why
becomes more
don't
resilient. Yeah.
yeah, and it's cheaper.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like this guy in carbonation says, Sean, and he's now a US congressman, and he says, hey, even if you're a greedy bastard,
Peter, sorry.
we,
It
we
just
froze up.
froze. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's probably mine. It just said
Well,
your
not
internet connection
necessarily.
is unstable.
Not
Um,
necessarily. Yeah, but
so
I don't know what the last piece.
your last piece was if you're a greedy bastard.
Oh, that's awesome. So
So
if you're a
the
greedy bastard and don't care about environment or human health or anything really,
yeah.
a lot of the energies that are renewable right now, a lot of the methods of farming right now are
Mhm.
just cheaper.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so that to me, that's always the tipping point. That's what got me going on this whole thing back in 1989. My whole like, whoa, what? I heard that on a radio station. They were talking about sustainability or something. They might not have
Mm,
used that word then. And it was a radio show called Common Ground, like on our public radio stations. And
love it.
this guy's saying it's actually cheaper if we use less energy, but we use it more efficiently. It'll cost less money. And that phrase on that show got me going. And that's when
Isn't
I
that
started my film Carbonation, my film Garbage, actually. That was before Carbonation. So the
okay?
film Garbage started because I heard that guy say that thing.
Isn't that amazing? I'm
And
yeah.
yeah, and a lot of groups that were, over 18, I guess, started in 1989. A whole lot of
Hmm.
environmental groups started in 1989. Ceres, CERES, this great group out of Boston who just makes the connection between a company's resiliency, big Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies, resiliency is based on how well they manage their energy and how well they
Hmm.
future think and systems think.
Yeah.
And they've been fighting for regulation for decades. They started in 1989. And so what I've seen when I made Carbonation, we interviewed, gosh, over 100 people. I think hundreds of people.
Yeah.
And so it was my sort of, I just learned so much. And so many groups started in 1989, and that's when the Exxon Valdez uh, went aground in Alaska and created that huge oil spill. And I think
Hmm.
I think that really woke people up. And then another thing that I've noticed as I've been making the films, you know, the Department of Defense in the United States is our, depending on how you slice it, our biggest or one of our biggest budgets,
Hmm.
right? And when we were making Carbon Nation, I was thinking, gosh, if you got all that money and they're fighting all these resource wars, can't you just
Hmm.
use a slice of that to do research for solar and research for things?
Yeah.
And it turns out there were people there doing it. They were called Greenhawks. And they had this
Okay.
report called More Fight, Less Fuel. And the first report came out on September 9th, 2001. And of course, the September 11th bombings happened 2 days later. So no one paid attention to it, just went away.
Completely forgotten about.
But it
Yeah.
was saying we shouldn't be fighting resource wars, which we immediately went into fighting a resource war.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I interviewed all these veterans coming back from Iraq, coming back from Afghanistan back then, especially. And then I met a bunch of veterans when I got to ASU, and it might have been self-selection, but so many of them knew 100% they were fighting a resource war over there.
Hmm.
And they came back and they worked in renewable energy. So many veterans went into solar energy businesses,
Wild.
right? And now, so I sort of pivoted, focused in 2012 and then really in 2013 on grazing, regenerative grazing, adaptive multi-paddock grazing as a way to mitigate climate change, as a way to get farmers out of debt, revive ecosystems. The word
Yeah.
rewilding is out there right now. It's sort of got a polarizing effect, but
I'm watching it.
creating habitat for nature.
Hmm.
Um, and now I've met a whole new group of veterans, starting
Yeah.
at the former Veterans Coalition, and then other veterans. This guy, Eric Chaya, who we've just made we've just filmed a short film on, we're editing it right now. He's bringing amp grazing to, he's bringing amp grazing to army bases,
Hmm. Cool.
and it makes the
Yeah.
base's mission better. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna,
Yeah. Yeah.
like cannibalize our short film, but I've met so
Yeah.
many veterans now who are going into agriculture and regenerative agriculture
Beautiful.
for kind of the same reasons. They know what war is like. Now it's time to make the world better.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
some just are suffering from PTSD or traumatic brain injuries. We've met a lot of folks,
Hmm.
and farming saving their life.
Yeah. Mental health and well-being. Yeah.
Just being outside, being with
Yeah.
things growing, being right
Connected.
and connecting. And now we're working with those farmers who are now going, okay, now we can take it to the next step. Let's take it to regenerative. Like that's to them that's
Yeah.
like the next step.
Yeah.
And so
That's a growth mindset.
it's a growth
Yeah.
mindset, it's a systems mindset. You know, so many
Mm.
people who decide to go into the military, um, they have a deep dedication, right? They've chosen to put it into that piece of work. I myself have never wanted to join the military, but I've met so many people
Mm.
who I would hire
Yeah.
who've been in the military, and and to be of service to them. Our country is really gung ho about bringing people into the military and using
Hmm.
folks in wartime. But man, we drop the ball after they get home, after
Yeah.
they get,
Absolutely.
we have a really good medical system if they get injured in battle. That's
Hmm.
what I learned this last year because I've met a nurse who was in that system and she really opened my eyes. It's like we do really, really good work. You get injured in battle, you're going to be well taken care of. Once you walk out that door, it's it's not
Yeah.
nearly what it should be.
Yeah.
And so they're diminished out there, and farmers are diminished, and teachers are diminished. It's these elemental
The
functional
structural, the
yeah,
structural things that hold the fabric of society together and make a country great,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and strong and resilient and talk about energy security, water security, food security. all those things tie in to how we treat the land. That's why I'm so
Hmm.
focused on it since that's why I like started in '07. Carbonation came out in 2010. I was on the road for 3 years with that film. The land piece was in carbonation, but I had other
Yeah,
pieces as well.
yeah,
But man, did it, we had energy efficiency, we had renewable energy, clean energy, and we had land use, and we had leadership. Those were the four buckets that carbonation was
good.
working on, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I know your book that you're working on right now has a similar goal, but it sounds like you're going really deep on a lot of stuff that we just,
Eh,
you know,
yeah. But I'm landing right now on agriculture
yeah.
as this kind of part, not that I avoided it, like, so my mother had an organic shop for
Okay.
years in Germany. I
A
was
shop.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
way ahead of time before. Uh, it was like before the chain stores of Whole Foods and everything, it was
Yep.
like way back. Raised vegetarian. I was vegetarian for about 20 years. My two uncles are cattle farmers, beef.
Hmm.
Um,
On your
my
mom's side
dad,
or your dad's side?
my mom's side, so the O'Connor family. And
Got it.
then my dad studied horticulture, so I've got this weird, it's been a strange upbringing, Peter. It's just been kind of thrown in the mix of watching what everyone's saying.
You have
Um,
Germany and you have Ireland
yeah, yeah.
as your as your
I
homes.
was born in Germany, moved to Ireland when I was 5, raised here, and then, went to school, went to college, and then went back to Germany for 10 years. And now I'm back
Oh,
in Ireland again. And
okay.
I did a master's in sustainable environments after working in commercial real estate and investment management. So a little bit of a different route.
It
And
all ties
while
in though. It all
it
ties
really,
in. The way
really,
you build
really
that book
weirdly does. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've
does.
kind of a big focus on the financial world and how it's interacting and how to, I don't know, work around it or make it evolve into something that isn't just pressing the self-terminate button all the time on us, you know?
Right. It's like, where does the money go and what's it supporting and how and why and all those
Yes.
things. It's super important. And again, it's that folks who are making a lot of money right now with the way things are. I don't blame folks who are making a lot of money with the way things are, wanting the ways things are to stay the way things are.
Yeah.
How,
Yeah.
I mean, come on, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 And
Perfect sense. And, there's been a struggle with can you make as much money doing good, right? Folks who
yeah.
come out of this sort of investment world, they've made their chunk of change. Now they want to do good. It's hit and miss,
Yeah.
right? It's a
Mm,
gamble, but we need that flow of money because those gambles, those hit and miss companies, we need that development. We need that
yeah. Research
churn,
and development. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Uh,
and it's a powerful thing. I'm learning a lot more about the financial flow right now. I'm a novice,
yeah.
right?
Oh, it's a fun world. 'When I worked in um, the commercial property side of things, it was one layer of dealing with banks and investors and the property and everything that worked in the operation of the property, right? But then and valuations and stuff. But then you go into the investment management thing that's buying the properties and you're another level above interacting with the big investors of the world. So, say your pension funds, your insurance funds, they make up 60% of all the money floating around in the world. And
Right.
then private equity and hedge funds and sovereign wealth funds and all that stuff. So that's all kind of you get, oh wow, this is how this fits together, and that's that type of investor, and that one's more ruthless than that one. That one's going to kick you out and try and rip you to shreds. The other one's a bit more passive and like the nuance goes deep, 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 deep. So it's like, yeah, uh,
And
our
who in that world wants to see the world better. And I'm getting I'm getting the feedback that there's a lot of money that
Mm.
wants to get into making the world better, the land better. And it wants to know, how do you make a profit from that? How do you make a profit from
Yes.
it?
Yeah.
And so my brain is swimming in that pool right now. Because I've been not for profit for this whole time, '07 to now.
Yeah.
And now I've got people say, hey, you have developed this base of knowledge, this base of connection that has value.
Hmm. Platform as well.
Let us help you, because you can help us as we
Hmm.
develop for-profit entities that will scale
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
scale up the change to regenerative agriculture, which is what we need. And
100%.
and so that's the thing that's been opening my eyes. I've been in this philanthropic world. Hmm. And because of the way things are in the US right now, it's really rough
Hmm.
fundraising. It's as rough
Yeah.
as it probably has ever been,
Yeah.
because so much funding has been pulled. And so funders who have funded all these things now have to focus on just that.
Okay.
And
Okay.
all these things are struggling. And that makes sense too, right? You have to focus. Every funder has a focus. Every funder has, what am I working on? What do I want to see better?
Hmm.
From the big foundations to the small family offices. And so I'm having these people come to me saying, you gotta realize that the amount of money that's in the philanthropic world on an annual basis is so much less than the amount of money that's available in the finance world on an annual
Hmm.
basis.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this thing won't scale unless that world sees this as a viable entity.
Yeah. It has to be economically viable. There needs to be a business case behind it. And then, as you hit the nail on the head before, with, say, talking to McDonald's or whoever, you got funding off them, which, well done. That's brilliant. You approached them. I know that.
Yeah.
Um, but if you can present a financially viable concept to them who are
Mhm.
large scale, that's
Yeah.
how we get rid of the intensive farming, because you can show over a proven timeline that you
Yeah.
can reduce your chemical inputs, the animal welfare increases and everything, and it's good for the image, and people will go boost sales maybe or whatever. But it's thinking with that financial lens that they always have on, that you have to kind of
Well,
do.
they have to have it
Yeah,
on. They have to
yeah,
have it on. And
they do.
the
I
first conversation I had with McDonald's was back in 2012. So this was when I was pivoting to focusing on soil, and I realized
hmm
cattle and soil were the thing I was going to focus on, because every farm I went to that was doing this work was, their land was so vibrant. It was just so evident and so
yeah,
different from neighbor. I'm like, what? So the only difference is how you're managing your animals. That's it. And
yeah,
that was it. And so when I was invited into McDonald's, I met this woman, Francesca DiBiase, at a conference in the fall of 2012. She came to watch my presentation. It was sort of the end of that 3-year period of carbonation presentations. And
hmm
she invited me to McDonald's. So I was there that December. She had a whole team. And it was a fun meeting. Um, um, it was funny because they brought up gingham style, that
Oh
Korean.
yeah. I just watched that
And,
yesterday. Yeah, yeah.
and their
He jumps up
boss,
out of the thing, out of the stage. You know the way that's his line or his
that's
trick, and she
right.
jumps way, yeah, yeah, out
I
of a hole.
had Here I am in a table of folks in a corporation, and I hadn't heard of it. And they were just
Oh,
shocked that I hadn't heard of it yet. So I remember that at the meeting. And then my pitch was, I think I found a way to make your main product a health food. If we can make hamburgers healthy,
yeah, yeah,
um, I think we'll be able to slow down climate change while doing it, right?
yeah.
These were all theories. I don't know the economics,
Hmm.
right? I just didn't know the economics. And is this worth exploring? And it was 4 years later when we had re-met them. Like, I was sort of around for a bit and then sort of not around for a bit. And then
Hmm.
4 years later is when we came up with our proposal. And that proposal, they said, yeah, let's work on this.
Excellent. So the seed was planted 4 years beforehand, and then it was the long game of, yeah, that's how these things work, though. There's patience involved, isn't there? And then
Yeah,
magic can happen, but you just have to have
I
patience and persistence as well.
think
Like,
persistence might
well
be
done.
the patience. Thank you. Thank you.
Tenacity.
Patience isn't necessarily what I have,
Okay.
but I have persistence
And
and
boldness.
I have tenacity. Tenacity.
Yeah.
Right now, I just broke a bone in my foot, and so I have to be a good patient,
Yeah.
and that requires patience. So I've really been thinking
Yes.
about that word for the last 2.5.
Folks, so Peter's got his leg up at the moment, and we've figured out, yeah, we've figured out a comfortable way to do this interview while his leg is up in a cast.
Yep. Yep.
Um, you seem to be getting on okay though. Yeah.
Um,
Just if you're on crutches a lot though, get some massages or however, maybe you have some loved ones that will be willing to give you. It really gets tight back there. I had
mhm.
it for 6 weeks. I had a hip operation.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. If I had known straight away to like just keep, if you're walking around a lot, walking,
Uh-huh.
but
That's
yeah.
good advice. I just got back into, I mean, I love acupuncture, but I found a place here that I like, and I I just got
Mm.
back in town after being away for about 2 months. So I think an acupuncture session is in
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
works. That actually works. Yeah.
Keep the flow going, man.
Yeah, man.
It's I need my body to have flow, right?
Yeah.
And
Well, it's I heard it before, like that you can't pour from an empty cup. So you do need the rest and you need to be replenished enough so that you can go out and do the big change in the world you want to, which
yeah,
involves healthy food.
it does
And
involve healthy
you
food. Not
you
that
know
I go
that
healthy food all the time, but
you, you know
yeah.
that 80% rule, like just eat 20% healthy or 20% junk food
What?
and 80% healthy. I kind of thought about it lately. It's probably more like 65% healthy and 35% junk food or lower, but
When I go back
it's
home to
okay.
Kentucky, that ratio goes probably 50-50. And
Yes,
and
Christmas and stuff, right?
no, just anytime because I go to this ice cream store called Grader's anytime I want to.
Yeah.
And now I'm back in Phoenix. I will need ice cream for months and months.
What?
And
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
so it's just what's I just go there. So that sort of throws everything off. But
Does
I eat pretty well. My breakfasts are always uh, really good. My wife's been making me bowls of fruit since I broke my foot, and
good.
that's how I start. And I'm doing stretches and stuff, and I'm watching Wimbledon or the
Oh
club
yeah,
work
that's on right now.
like that. So
Brilliant.
yeah,
Do you know what else is on right now? Or was just on the Groundswell Festival in UK.
did they have it live? Could you
Just
watch it live?
no, but it was just on. I had just spoken to Jane Buxton, who wrote the Plant-Based Con, the Great Plant-Based Con. It's another piece of this big puzzle, Peter.
The
Highly
plant
recommend it.
con.
Yeah, the Great Plant-Based Con,
I
and
don't want to write anything down or type right now. Can you email me just that title?
I will do that. Can I just get a pen? Because I tried to write something down that you suggested, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Where's my bloody pen?" One sec.
Yep. Yep.
So, so the beauty of Jane Buxton's work, I'm gonna write it down. Uh,
The plant-based con. It's just interesting. Alan Williams and I get into this conversation, and we've just started a podcast called The Peter Byck Show.
I
And
saw it. Well done.
thank you.
Congratulations.
Appreciate that. Our third episode just came up with Greg Judy, but we start with Alan
I
Williams.
saw it. I'm not joking.
Hey, awesome.
You were in the kitchen, right?
Yeah,
And he told his backstory. He's a lovely guy. He's
he's
a sweetheart.
he
Yeah,
he's an amazing human being, and his journey, like everyone's journey, is like there's a lot of pain in that journey to
yeah,
working with nature. Um,
yeah.
his being told by Ian Mitchell Innes, the way you're doing it will kill you and will make you a divorced human being. And
Yeah. And was that after his first divorce or?
I don't think he's been divorced. I don't
Oh,
think
I
he,
thought he said he was divorced in the thing.
oh, maybe,
Oh,
gosh,
I think he had
a
one
marriage
before.
prior.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I was trying to figure out, did he mean it and did it happen or did it?
No, he was talking
But
about his current wife at that time.
yeah.
And we have another family that we filmed, Ann Demarath and her husband Bob. Um, they absolutely will tell you that working with nature on their farmland and changing the way they manage their farm because Bob saw Gabe Brown and everything changed in his mind.
Yeah.
And Gabe's the second episode in our podcast series,
Oh,
and
brilliant.
and and that working with nature saved their marriage. Like she's like got no doubt. And so
Awesome.
again, these systems thinking, you know, divorce is expensive. It creates ill health for most. I mean, I guess there are
Mm,
toxic marriages that should be done, but you
mm.
know, there's a lot of marriages I would guess that circumstance is the reason that they dissolve. I can't
I,
I can't speak to this in detail. I but it saved their marriages. I can
yeah.
say that.
Well, it's a beautiful turnaround of, we have farm systems and there's a lot of negativity within farming right now because of fluctuating prices. They're hit with cost of living crisis, then they're villainized by the media for certain reasons, for money making exercises and deflection tactics off more polluting industries, and there's a lot of life been sucked out. And then
Yeah.
something like your story with Carbon Cowboys, Roots So Deep, Gabe Brown and his documentaries, and Joel Salatin. That's all stuff that's so exciting. That breathes life back into it. And I would only hope that over time, if the science that's robust gets communicated with the public on what happened, why it happened, and that cows and agriculture can be part of the solution, and will be, then the whole thing changes. Then the farmers are more proud. Then they get people thanking them more on the roads. I saw Yellowstone, by the way. There's the 4-6 is it's a big part in Texas of farming group, I think. And somebody said, "Howdy, thank you for your work." And that's what I'd love to see us getting back to that.
Mhm.
And that involves
I
cleaning
would.
up that image that has been smeared of the farmers and all their hard work that continue to do it through the tough times too of all of this. So,
So many
a
of them
couple,
don't get through the tough times.
yeah,
Farmers lose their farm. Hmm.
yeah,
Over the
yeah,
last since the 70s. In the 80s, we had huge farm loss, huge. And that's continued in waves.
mm,
And yeah, the idea that farmers have such a strong hand and so much land caring
yeah,
is unknown to most people. It's certainly what, Roots So Deep is about, is communicating that, right? But not enough
yeah,
people have seen Roots So Deep. It's just simple. We need many, many more people to see it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
I think they'd get it then.
everyone who sees it gets it.
Yeah, that's
Like
it. Yeah,
it's a it works. Farmers
yeah,
change who've watched it. And that's obviously really cool. Excuse me. It's really cool to see. It's encouraging. It feels
mm,
good. Um, because we know farmers who work with nature are happier and get out of debt and enjoy
yeah,
their work. I
yeah. It's
mean,
more fun.
and then they
Everything.
benefit
Yeah,
everybody with creating water cycling that actually benefits them and then benefits their neighbors. And
mm,
farmers love their land.
they
They've
do.
just been taught over the last, you know, since the 40s, 1940s. The methods of agriculture have just incrementally and sometimes big leaps stepped away from nature.
Hmm.
And now it's just so far away, and so much debt involved that it's so hard for farmers. And so that's a big piece of what I hope our work does, and what our work moving forward does, is just helping farmers make this change. It's good for them, their neighbors, their community, their
Hmm.
state, their country, their planet, their spirit. I just haven't seen any downsides to it.
No.
Um, the only kind of downside thing is it doesn't always transfer to the next generation. Like these great leaders in regenerative ag, some of them have passed. I've seen a couple that died in car wrecks, and
Really?
their
How?
children just didn't take on the mantle. So that land that was so
Yeah.
beautifully set up doesn't stay that way. And so that's like the weak link that I've seen in this whole thing. But if the land stays in the same production, we don't know how good it gets. We haven't seen it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so nature's ready. All the systems in nature are designed, evolved, whatever you want to say, beautifully.
Designed
Uh,
for abundance.
yeah, because that's natural.
Yeah. Yeah,
Na-
it is.
Nature
Hey,
wants healthy.
yeah, 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 absolutely. And I mean, if you go on the financial lens of it again, like if you can prove that what you're doing right now, you are proven with the robust science you're doing, right?
Mhm.
It's not, I'm very skeptical of quick quick results and things that are just kind of like epidemiological studies, observational studies. They're easy to skew. You ask the right questions, you can get things to go a certain way. And your science is taking a long time, long measurements. You even talk about how frustrating it is waiting for results for whatever the methane emissions or the microbes in the soil, or the invertebrates, the insects, all of this stuff. That gives me a kind of a trust that it's not just some willy-nilly shoot from the hip science. It's like it's got strength in it because it's really measured things for a long time and in multiple areas,
Yeah,
you
our
know?
scientists are rigorous.
Yeah.
Um, some of the scientists were pretty sure something was happening on these farms and needs to be measured, so their hypothesis was based on observation. Some of our
Mm.
scientists had never been on these farms, never even visited the farms when we were doing the research. They just got their samples, especially the
Mm.
soil team. They just got their samples. They didn't have a,
Indiscriminate or,
yeah, they
you know.
just, yeah, give us the samples, we'll tell you what's in them. Now they understand the difference,
Hmm.
and now they're like very focused on this.
Yeah.
Um, it was just something that they hadn't come across. And so to see a scientist sort of have that uh, evolution in thought, or just new thought, or just, hey, look at this data, and wow,
Ah,
let's follow this. And that was really interesting. But the science team that we've got, they're top notch.
yeah.
Top notch. And some of them were top notch, world class, known around the planet when they joined our team. Some of them were brand new, just out of getting their PhD. Some of them got their PhD with our work. And then some of them were sort of on their way, and
Hmm.
now are
Hmm.
very much world class, doing their own big giant projects.
Yeah.
Um, and so this project has members of this project have gone on to do some really big things and are doing them now. And so we'll just get more knowledge. We'll get more data. We'll get more
Epic.
knowledge.
Well, it's sometimes I hear from, so I studied sustainable environments, so I know all sorts of people in the environmental
Yep.
side of things, and I've heard everything, the rewilding versus regenerative
Mhm.
community
Yep.
issues, and yeah, I just I keep thinking like when I saw Roots So Deep, I was like, but there's loads of ecologists and all types of environmental specialists in your work, you know? Like that's and and uh and there might be a demonization of a certain person from South Africa, right? Alan Savory,
Yeah. Not in
in
our
the
work.
one group. But yeah, exactly.
I don't think so.
But also there's so many people doing so many different things, and
Mhm.
it's a tree of wisdom that's just growing its branches out further and further in all different directions, learning and progressing in a positive way, right? And I'm just like, guys, don't focus on there's a whole world of um very enthusiastic people who love nature and
Yep.
wanted to work in harmony with farming. Like, please step back from the noise and just see what your show, say, and you'll see exactly how enthusiastic these guys are. They're not in it for anything other than the love of nature and farming and everything together, you know?
There's a lot of
It's a
room.
beautiful thing.
There's a lot of room for a lot of methods and a lot of thinking and a lot of
Yes.
experimenting. If anyone thinks we've figured it all out, then I we haven't.
Well, you're
But
rough and tumbling it as well in a very charming way, you know? It's fun to watch. It really is. Like it's I loved your messing around at the start as well, you know, to your intro just to yeah, it was nice. It's good to see who you are behind the thing as well.
yeah, we
Um
had an amazing editor. His name's Ben Daughtry, and he was very adamant about people need to know who you are if you're going to be
yeah,
the the person taking folks through this journey. And so I just gave him a whole bunch of archival footage and story, and he drove. I mean, he found the story in the footage. I mean, I was running the fundraising, helping to organize the science team, being the point
hmm
person for all those farmers. All of that was a full-time job. And then
yeah,
I was shooting and directing for this documentary, and I was just shooting everything as much as I
yeah,
could, not knowing where the story was going to be, not knowing where the footage was going to take me or it. And Ben, he found it. He spent about two
awesome.
months just going through the footage to see if he wanted to work on this thing, because we'd gone
Yeah,
through a bunch of editors already who were just it was too much work, or they didn't get it,
yeah,
or me, it just didn't work for the combo. And he found the stories. He really shaped Roots So Deep. And
love it.
yeah, so again, team, right? Team.
Yeah.
Chris,
It's
speaking of team, my team is now, I'm 3 minutes late for my
oh,
annual
okay.
meeting.
Okay.
Um,
Um it's been an absolute pleasure, Peter.
yeah, I hope
Thanks
it's
so
not
much for everything.
it felt like a
And
rambling conversation.
yeah, I know I should structure it better and
Uh,
ask proper questions. I had a list of questions, it never works out. But I'll send you that link. By the way, Jane Buxton, she is a big fan of regenerative farming and organic farming. So
okay.
her book like nails it just on explaining the whole
Let me know
thing.
about Roots So Deep if you would, please.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. But that will be a woman to talk to at some point. I
Yeah.
guarantee you. She's done a lot of speaking to a lot of people,
Huh?
many interviews on on everything to do with agriculture as well. So
Yeah.
a great mind to link
Yeah.
in
If
with.
she wants to just go to our website and watch some of our short films on the Carbon Cowboys channel on YouTube, listen
Yeah,
to the Peter Byck show episode, anything she wants to connect, if she then is like feels like, yeah, I mean, I'd love to talk to her.
awesome,
Uh,
awesome.
and
Hey,
thank you. Yeah,
get well soon, and
appreciate it.
maybe we can catch up another time, and
Yeah,
I'll we'll thrash out a bit more regenerative farming and the future of the world,
Yeah. Yeah.
the positive sides of things.
I love what you're doing. I know how hard it is, and and your goals are right on the money. And
Thanks, man.
it, you know, making things funny just works. As funny as you can get. As funny
Really?
as you. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. There's too
Uh,
many people who take this stuff too seriously. They don't think there's supposed to be jokes in there. Heck yeah,
that,
it needs to be
that's
funny.
exactly why the documentary was so charming because it was fun, you know? It was
Yeah, we
real human.
yeah,
Yeah,
make fun of ourselves and everything because I do some dumb
awesome.
stuff, especially on
The
farm.
you know
But I should get going, Chris. I'm five
yeah,
minutes late.
okay. All right, buddy.
The door's
Thanks very
open.
much, Peter.
I enjoyed this conversation.
Me
Uh,
too.
and best of good fortunes for you as you're slogging through. And
Thank you, sir.
reach out if you need anything, man.
Thanks, man.
All right.
Appreciate it. Take care of
Bye-bye.
yourself.
You
Appreciate
too.
your work. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning into this conversation. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please hit the follow button, and so you'll see more of my content in the future. It would really mean a lot to me because I'm just starting out. Thanks, and see you soon.